Alright, this is the end of Unit 5 Study Guide. So I can solve problems related to positive and negative rational numbers. Remember, rational numbers are anything that includes a fraction, a decimal, or a whole number, positive or negative. And I can solve real-world problems related to positive and negative numbers. So question number 1, when you multiply negative 8, choose a number when multiplied by negative 18 that's going to give you a product that's less than negative 18. So if I take negative 18, I have to multiply it by something, and I'm going to get less than negative 18. So that means I have to get something further to the left on the number line. So if I multiply by a negative number, this is actually going to be positive. So that's not going to work. I have to multiply by a positive number. So I'm going to multiply by a positive 2. So 18 times 2 is going to give me 36. And because it's a negative times a positive, my signs are different. I get negative 36. Product tells me to multiply. So Richard monitored the temperature outside. The temperature was negative 4 at midnight. And then the temperature increased by 6 degrees at 4 p.m. At 11 p.m., the temperature dropped by 7 degrees. What was the temperature outside Richard's house at 11 p.m.? So I'm going to go ahead and make myself a quick number line. Because I'm going to solve this using a number line. I promise I can count. Okay, so I'm starting at negative 4. And then I know I'm going up 6. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now I'm on positive 2. Then it dropped, or I added a negative 7. Because remember, you can rewrite it by adding the opposite. So I'm going to switch colors and go below. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now the temperature is negative 5. So my answer to this one is negative 5 degrees Celsius. All right, so then it says Shelley received $30. The next day she spent $6.25 to see a movie and $10.35 on dinner. The next week she earned $7.25 after doing chores. How much money did Shelley have after she finished her chores? Okay, so I've got to start at the beginning. So $30, and then she spent, so that's subtracting $6.25. So I get $23.75. So I've dealt with this, so I'm going to cross it out. Then she saw a movie, so that means she spent more money, and that was $10.35. Remember, on this test, you're not using a calculator. So now I have $13.40. So I'm going to cross that off because she now ate dinner. So she earned money. So earning means I'm going to add $7.25. So now she has $20.65. So they want to know what's the value of the following charges. Remember that a positive and a negative number make a zero charge. So positive and negative, positive and negative, positive and negative. So those are my zero pairs. So I'm left with 2 positive charges. I don't need to call it a positive because I know that if it doesn't have a sign, it's a positive number. All right, so the Tigers football team gained 3 yards. So I'm going to make myself some chips. Then they lost 13. Your model's only as good as your drawing is. Then they lost 4 more yards. So what is the total result of these 3 plays? Well, I'm going to make some 0 pairs. So a positive and a negative make a 0 pair. I'm out of positives, so now I just have to count up what I've got. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So you could write it as negative 14 yards or a loss of 14 yards. All right, the hottest day on a certain recorded city was 120 degrees Fahrenheit. The coldest recorded temperature in the same city was negative 44. What is the difference between these two temperatures? So remember, that's 120 minus negative 44. So you're finding the difference. Remember that subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. So the difference is 164 degrees Fahrenheit. You could also represent that on a number line. In Alaska, the temperature was -2. 12 hours later, it had decreased by 31.4 degrees Fahrenheit. What is the temperature at 11 p.m.? Okay, so I have -2 minus 31.4. So remember, subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. My signs are the same, so I'm going to add both of my negative numbers together, and I get 33.4 degrees Fahrenheit. But I got to make sure I keep that negative sign, because when you're adding, you keep the sign of both numbers. It's not like it miraculously became warmer because I have 2 negative numbers. Kobe hiked a mountain that was 1,410 feet above sea level. His car was parked at 35 feet below sea level. What is the distance between the elevation of the mountain and the elevation of Colby's car? So I'm trying to find the difference, or the distance between. And it's -35 because it's below sea level. So I can change a subtraction problem into adding the opposite. So the difference, or the distance between them, is 1,445 feet. The first week of the month, Robert had $230 in his savings account. The second week he deposited $12, and then the third week he withdrew $105 to purchase a graphing calculator. How much does Robert have in his account now? So we're starting off with $230. Then he deposited $12. Then he withdrew, so that's subtracting $105. So he has $137 in his account now. Select all the true statements. Okay, so this is going to make a 0 pair, so it's equal to 0, so A is true. B, so I have 2 negative numbers, I'm adding them together, yes, it's going to be negative. For this one, I have negative 2.6 minus negative 10. Okay, so I'm going to change that into an addition problem by adding the opposite. I still don't know if 10/3 is bigger than 2.6. So 3 goes into 10 3 times with 1/3 left over. So I know that this is a positive number and it's bigger than this. So that means the answer is going to be positive. Okay, next one. I have 5/2 plus a negative 2.4. Okay, well, 5/2 would be 2 1/2, which would be 2.5 plus a negative 2.4. So this is barely larger, but it is positive. So then the last one, 72 plus 110. Well, both of these are positive, so it's definitely going to be positive. All right, a heron was purchased on a tree 50 feet above sea level. So I'm going to draw myself a picture. So I have my sea level, and then this bird is 50 feet above sea level. Then it says a pelican is flying 17. Oh, I better change my label then. I better make this H. Okay, so then a pelican is 17 feet above sea level. Then directly below the birds is a trout, and it's 23 feet below sea level. Okay, so now I've got to select all the true statements. So the difference between the height of the pelican and the height of the heron is negative 73 feet. Well, I'm looking at the difference here. So no, it would be 33 feet. So A is not true. The difference between the height of the pelican and the height of the heron is 33 feet. Yes. The distance between the heights of the pelican and the heron is negative 73 feet. No. The distance between the pelican and the trout is negative 40. Well, let's think about it on a number line. So I have 0. I know this is at 17, and I know this is at 23. So 23 and then 17. So it's going to be 40 feet. But is it negative 40 feet? So let's check. 17 minus negative 23. Nope, that's going to be a positive. The difference between the height of the pelican and the trout is 57. No, we just figured out it was 40. The distance between the pelican and the trout is 33. No, we just figured out that it was 40. So the only true statement was B. All right, so for 12, 13, and 14, they want you to solve these equations. Okay, so I'm dividing by a negative 1/4. Now remember, multiplying and dividing, I get 1. When you multiply and divide by the same number, you get 1b. So now I have negative 7 over 1 divided by 1/4. So now I'm going to keep, change, flip. Got to be careful because that was a negative number. So 7 times 4 is 28. 1 times 1 is 1. So a negative times a negative is going to give me a positive. So B is 28. So now I'm going to subtract 8 on each side. So I'm left with negative m equals So negative 7 plus adding the opposite. So negative 7 plus 8 is going to leave me with a positive 1. Now, I have a negative here, so I've got to divide by that negative 1 to clear it. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 is going to leave me with just m, so I have a negative 1 as my answer. My last one, I'm dividing by negative 5. So negative 5 divided by negative 5 leaves me with just p. And then 12 divided by negative 5. So 12 over negative 5 is going to be, 5 goes into 12 2 times. So that's 10. 12 minus 10 is 2. So negative 2 and 2/5 p. And then if I still needed to further change it, I could do 12 divided by 5, add my decimal point. 12 goes into 5 2 times. 5 goes into 20 4 times. So it's either negative 2 and 2/5 or negative 2.4. Either answer. Right, my last one, they're asking us to add and subtract these integers to come up with our distance. Remember, you're not using a calculator for this. So I have 372, and I'm subtracting 48. End up with 324. For this one, I have to figure out the distance between. So I have 512 minus 452. So I end up with $60. And it's going to be positive because 452 plus 60 is going to give me 512. So 75 minus or plus negative 120. Well, I know when the signs are different and I'm adding, I subtract and take the sign of the larger absolute value. So I'm going to do 120 minus 75. I get 45. And it's going to be negative because the larger absolute value would be 120. All right, so now I have to think of a number where I'm going to get 10 as my result. So I'm doing 10 minus 52. So that's 10 plus negative 52. Signs are different, so I subtract. I get 42, and the sign of the larger number, or the absolute value of the larger number, is negative. So negative 42. So negative 10 plus negative 40 is going to give me negative 50. All right, you have no cool down today. If you need help, Khan Academy has an extra practice test. Mr. Morgan has a help video. You can call a study buddy or set up an appointment with me on Calendly. I work with kids on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.